UTEP week, we've got a little bit of a start on them last night and this morning. UTEP has a coaching staff that's very veteran, some that I am very familiar with. Dana Dimmel is a veteran coach that is a very good football coach, has hired very good guys around him. All three coordinators I know. Joe Robb, who used to be here at Texas Tech, veteran special teams guy, highly thought of around the country. Chico Canales, good friend of mine, former Utah State quarterback, known him for forever, and has done a phenomenal job throughout his career coordinating offenses, getting quarterbacks ready to play, and he will no doubt have those guys ready to play. Mike Cox, veteran defensive coordinator. Coach Cox was at Utah State when I played as a junior and a senior, so I'm very familiar with all of them. Keith Burns, I worked for him for 1 year. And those guys are veterans. They'll have their guys ready to play. They're very well coached, and that's a good staff Coach Dimmel has put together at UTEP. So very early in the week, but the analysis of them right now, really good back. 19's a good back. Could have either one of two quarterbacks, which are dual threat guys. They're very big in the up front on the offensive line. They're very big on the D line up the middle. There's three guys that are right at 300 pounds. In terms of their front seven on their defense, I think both safeties are really good players, and they can come off the hash and put their hat on guys, and I think they tackle well. You know, a recap a little bit about Saturday. Well, I thought we had a really good start to the game, you know, scoring early, and the first, I think, 5 series, 3 and outs on defense, and it's a good way to start the game. Thought Broderick set the tone with the TFL on the first 3rd and short play for us, and I think kind of set the tone on defense. Didn't have any takeaways. Certainly that's a big part of our game plan and who we are, except if you count the 2 4th down stops. And I know you don't count it, the stats don't count it, but we do internally. You look at their possessions, and this is kind of how we evaluate defense. They had 15 possessions. 10 times they had absolutely no chance to score. 8 3 and outs on the day and 2 4th down stops. And that'll be the kind of production that we need every single week to be able to play great defense, change the culture around here on defense. You know, offensively, we had the 1 turnover, very correctable mistake, but we will live with 1 turnover or less a game. That's kind of who we want to be. I thought we protected Allen very well. I thought the offensive line as a group played well. Travis Bruffy had an excellent game, probably our best player up there. And just in terms of individual efforts, I thought Allen was very efficient. I thought he directed the offense very well. Decision making, you know, a couple things that broke down, a couple DBs jumped some screens, ball on the ground on a snap. When he kind of took his eyes off the snap, he reacted in the right way, threw it out, and really got us to the next play, and that's what you want to do at quarterback. But the communication from he to Coach Yost to myself on the sidelines, thought it was really clean. I thought it was he was clear-headed. He saw what he needed to see, and I put a premium on that with quarterbacks, just in can they verbalize what they're seeing out there and you know if they're into the game or not, and he certainly was. Caught the ball all right, had a few drops, which I hope will be uncharacteristic of us. And then I thought the backs ran pretty good. The rotation at back was about what we wanted, which was just kind of like I said it to you last week. So now you guys start to know that I'm telling you the truth. We do rotate them. That was going to be about a third. Tajon, I think, played 7 or 8 snaps more than the other 2, but that's about what we want. I believe that will keep those guys fresh. I believe in the reps are cumulative throughout the season on the hits that those backs take, and that's about what we want. We'll probably end up playing the guy that has the hot hand late in the game, in the second half of the game. So a little bit about preview of the opponent, a little recap there, and I'll go ahead and open up for any questions.
Coach, you led off your presser kind of on Saturday, kind of talking about something that happened outside of football. When you have something like that affects a lot of guys on the team, have you seen an effect mentally, and how do you kind of deal with that in a sport where you have to be so locked in week to week?
Well, it's certainly what happened at Midland over the weekend is near and dear to a lot of people's hearts here at Texas Tech. That community is, as we know, I mean, hand in hand with Lubbock in terms of the support for Texas Tech and just for me, our football program, they've been great to us in the short time I've been here. I don't know, still learning everything here, but I just think that when somebody hurts that's close to you, that you end up feeling it. In terms of our players, we have a handful from there. To be, transparent, not very many of them had anybody affected by it. In terms of that, I mean, really close to them, except one of them. One was a teacher with a little girl that we went to visit in the hospital yesterday. But it puts things in perspective. I think the whole hurricane thing in Florida, where we don't have very many Florida guys. I've dealt with that at Utah State when we did have Florida guys. That it affects your family, and so it does. It's the human factor, and you just try to do your best when you come into the building to prepare and to practice, and then you kind of go back to reality in life and things that are outside of football. But I just think we're all sensitive to it because it's real life, and it's unfortunate things happen in this world.
Do you have a general injury update on some of the guys who have been dealing with them, week to week?
Our injury policy, guys, if a guy's out for the year, I'll tell you. If he's out for an extended time, I'll tell you. And if he's day-to-day, we're not going to go any further than that. And I've said that and stated that, and that'll be it.
Who was the player that you mentioned that was affected that knew someone?
Landon Peterson, freshman offensive lineman.
What went into you played your starters until pretty late in the game. Obviously, you had the game in hand. Did you just want to get more reps for your ones and twos?
No, the game was not in hand until it was. We had a fourth down. We had a 3rd and 9 stop. We forced a missed kick, and then 3 or 4 plays later, Xavier goes for a touchdown, and that made it 38-7. At that point, the game I thought was checkmate. To be real honest with you, if they score at that point with 12 minutes to go in the game, it's 31-14. I'm going to say they make the extra point. That's a 2-possession ball game. 12 minutes to go. Don't think my mind wasn't racing. How many possessions are left in the football game? Is that onside kick coming? That game was not in hand until that point in the game. At that point in the game, we did start subbing, though, at that point where we went up 38-7.
Also, at the spur position, it seemed like all August we talked about Evan Rambo, and then I guess Adam Beck played the large majority of the snaps at that spot. What was kind of the thought process there, and what did Adam Beck do in the last couple of weeks to get himself into position to play so much?
Well, I just think Adam Beck, Rambo, Xavier Benson at the other outside backer spot, Kosai Eldridge. We're still trying to figure out where everybody's best spot is. Rambo's an athletic 6'5", 220-pound kid. Is he better rushing on the edge, inside the box at Willie, and just depends on the formation that the offense gives you exactly where those guys line up. I think they're all, week to week, Don, how they practice, where they fit in that week's scheme. I think that Coach P has, a few moves to make every single week, and I think you'll see a bunch of those guys move around. So not one thing in particular led to him playing more.
Coach, what was it kind of like? I mean, you mentioned it last week, 9 months ago when you were hired. Now you finally get to run out there with your team, make your debut. Was it a special moment for you?
Yeah, it was pretty neat. I think that's one of the best entrances in college football. The Smoke, fearless champion. The horse, and it's not about me, it's about the players. I got fired up coming out of there, but it's about greeting the players, and it's a players' game. Coaches usually lose ball games by their inability to get their team prepared or to put them into situations. Players win games, and so it's about the players. I appreciate the question. It was nice. It was win-1. I'm now even in Jones Stadium personally. All right, I'm 1-1. Told you I was going to try to get to 1-1. We'll see if we can win this week.
And Jackson Tyner, he obviously getting those reps after Bowman checked out later in that game. Is he QB2, or is that still to be determined? Or what made you go with him over Duffy, I guess?
Just the body of work for the last 2 weeks. that will be, again, determined by Coach Yost later in the week, depending on how this week goes. That's a good competition. Both those guys need to continue to show improvement, and they have to do it in limited reps now that we're in season in terms of practice, because Allen will take the vast majority of – he'll take all the ones and he'll take a decent amount of the twos most of the time, because that's how you prepare QB1.
And last one for me, how is Terrence progressing? Terrence Steele.
He's day to day.
Coach, as far as after the game, you mentioned that the defense had a lot to work on. You just mentioned they did a lot of good things in the game. Now that you've reviewed it, what are some of those things that you thought they were lacking that you can really improve on for next week?
Rephrase that again.
Just for
What?
the defense, after the game, you mentioned there was definitely things they can work on. And see
Yeah.
overall, they had a really
Yeah.
good game. What did you see that they need to work on?
Oh, a ton. I mean, just we had some miscommunications just in terms of stacks, bunches, empty. I'm sure UTEP's going to stack us. I'm sure they're going to bunch us. I'm sure they're going to motion to stack. I'm sure they're going to motion to empty. I'm sure they're going to empty the backfield and then see how we messed up that and see if we can get it fixed.
And then with Allen, obviously a lot of passing yards, and generally he's a really talented quarterback. With you, someone who knows quarterbacks, what are the main stats you look at to see how a guy did in an individual game or how he's been doing throughout a season for a quarterback?
Well, I think the first thing you look at is your touchdown to interception ratio. Will always be, I think a key stat. Completion percentage can be misleading at times because we're going to throw a bunch of bubbles and nows. And so your completion percentage on bubbles and nows and screens should be like 95%. And so that does up your percentage on an overall. But you're looking at your accuracy in terms of drop back passes and those kind of things, RPOs. And Allen was pretty accurate. You're looking for command of the offense. The more leniency or rope that Coach Yost gives him in terms of checking, he will call, a little bit to a decent amount of the game. Because Coach Yost will gain confidence and more confidence in Allen, and Allen will be able to call the game and put a few of our guys in better positions. So I think we look at some of those kind of things.
The only field goal was like a 31-yarder, but Trey was the only one who was out there on Saturday kicking extra points and field goals, right? And will that be kind of the strategy going forward, or is it a distance thing in terms of place kickers, because there's still the oars for all three of those guys?
To be determined. That's a strategy question I'm not going to let out on Monday.
Cool.
A for effort.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I got to find a better way to answer that without laughing, don't I?
Coach, it's been some time since we've seen the offensive coordinator here call the plays from the press box.
Since Spike Dykes was the head coach, I've been told.
Right. Can you kind of take us through your role on game day and how what you do on the sideline with regard to your involvement in the specific plays or defense, offense, just kind of what you do and how you see your job on game day?
Good question. I think, I'm on both headsets. I'm making a decent amount of calls in terms of the kicking game with Coach Tommerdahl. I help Coach Yost in terms of going for it, punting, kicking field goals, all that kind of stuff that you're just managing a game from a head coaching situation, time management, your timeouts, substitutions, special teams adjustments, a handful of offensive adjustments, looking at what they do on offense to help the defense in any way that I can. KP's going to call all the defensive calls. Coach Yost calls all the offensive calls, and I'm involved, I would say, in everything. I'm on both headsets and in both meeting rooms throughout the week and making a lot of personnel decisions, and special teams, very highly involved in the special teams, but Coach Tommerdahl does a great job with that himself.
And can you talk about UTEP and what concerns you about them?
Well, I think I just mentioned it. I think the early analysis just in early this morning, not being knee-deep into it until later tomorrow and tonight, is they're big and physical up front in terms of their O-line. In the middle, their defensive line is big and thick and physical. I mean, can we move them inside? Their safeties, I think they're really good up the middle. I mean, they're safe, the backers, the inside interior O-line, and that's how you build a defense inside out. I'd like to think the same thing about our defense. Broderick, Nick, Jordan Rico, Fry and Coleman. I mean, that's how you're trying to build your defense, and I see UTEP's being built the same way, and their players up the middle are very good and they're very talented. And the running back had a really good game, which that doesn't do anything to us in terms of what we think on defense, because our first thing we want to try to do is stop the run, just like probably everybody else.
We've got time for about 2 more.
Coach, how do you kind of like approach, like last week, this week playing a FCS team, and then UTEP, and then obviously making the jump to a Power 5 school the next week? Are you kind of really eager to get the better competition later in the year, or are you kind of excited to fine-tune a few things coming up this week for UTEP?
Play it as it lies. You don't get any bumps in the fairway or the rough. You play the schedule as it lies. It's all about us. Everything is about us. It's what we do. It's how we do it. The respect for your opponent will be there every single week. I think you respect your opponent by your preparation. I'm trying to teach our guys how to do that. Our staff is trying to teach our guys how to do that. The investment that you put into preparation, and it doesn't matter who the opponent is on Saturday, whether it's a league game or a non-league game, whether it's at home or it's on the road, you don't leave victory to chance on Saturday. You prepare the same way, you invest the same way, and that's how you respect your opponent. I 100% respect UTEP. We'll have to play better than we did Saturday to win the game this week. And our guys have to understand that. I believe in how we're going to practice on Monday this afternoon is the most important thing I'm worried about right now. Okay, the rest of the preparation as soon as I get out of here and start continuing to game plan. But the preparation this afternoon and the practice is all I'm worried about. And then tomorrow morning, 6:30, game plan install meeting. That's all that's on my mind. It's all that needs to be on the players' mind. But we have to instill that as an attitude to them, that it's all about us. It's how we do it and how we prepare. You don't just wing it on game day and think that I'm just going to roll the ball out and win. That doesn't happen. I don't believe you can do that once we get to this league. So everything that we do has to be the same and has to be of equal or more investment every single week.
Coach, sometimes it's tough for guys when they are competing against 2 other guys for a spotter position. You look at running back and you look at the wide receiver. Is it nice to get some tape and say, hey, look, guys, you're competing against other people, but we're getting y'all all touches. Y'all are all going to get your chances, all going to get your opportunities to shine in a game if you just keep working your butt off?
Yeah, first and foremost, the tape in terms of their performance is an indicator and validation of reps in a game. You earn them. You earn them in practice. You earn them in scrimmages that lead into game one, and then it becomes your game day film and your resume. You're only as good as your last film. You're only as good as your last game that you played. And so in terms of validating that for the players, it's real in each meeting room, whether it's the receiver meeting room, it's the running back meeting room, the DB meeting room, the H receivers. They see it and they see the guys in that room, but it's so much more than what you just mentioned, to be honest with you, because they need each other. Some of those positions aren't ready to play 90, however many snaps. How many we have, Don? 96, 95 snaps. No, they're not ready to play all 95 snaps. And at some point, our theory and our philosophy in having those players play those many snaps and divvy it up, if the performances dictate it, I think they're continuing to buy in that I'm fresher, I can be more productive, and I'm fresher throughout the week. And then as the season builds, they will continue to see. They don't see it yet right now. It's only week 1. But I think they'll see that, and they've bought into it for the most part so far.
I really didn't think about it. I was just caught up in the moment of just being able to play football again, really. I was just excited for the season, and it kind of just happened, really.
In general, Coach Patterson's talked a lot about those third down stops and whatnot. What's the attitude of the team? What can you see among guys whenever you see so many opportunities, and you guys converted so many of them during the game, just the opportunity to get, off the field?
Coach Patterson has a great game plan for the defense, and getting third down stops is one of them. So really just trying to hit our goal of, I can't really remember what our goal is really, or not saying I don't know the number. I can't think of the number right now, but just trying to get as many third down stops as we can and get the offense the ball as many times as we could was really our goal, and we did pretty good at it Saturday.
Roderick, how nice was it to hit someone else for the first time?
It was great. It was great. Fall camp pretty long, so we don't go live every day, so being able to hit someone else and not really thinking about having to take care of our teammates or nothing like that, it was a great feeling, really.
For you, how do you lock in into a league by league when you have these season opponents that on paper, it's easy for us to say, oh, this should be an easy game, this should be one for the show, and
I try to just prepare the same way every week. So, like, okay, so say, for instance, Saturday I watched the game, went through all my corrections and stuff, and the next day I came in and sat with my coach just to hear what he had to say, pretty much the same things I was thinking, and then I actually sat down and watched some of UTEP's last game, and I try to just keep it simple, really, and just give myself a schedule, and I stick by that schedule every week, regardless of who we're playing.
And it's the same thing, I guess, in game. When you guys are getting out to a comfortable lead against the team, to continue to lock in for 4 quarters, knowing that, okay, maybe you're up 35-10 this week, but 3 weeks from now, it's going to be tighter than that.
Maybe, but no, I'm just kidding. But really, one thing that Coach Patterson has, he always has stories for us, and one thing that he's told us in one of his stories was that he used to be a wrestler, and like his dad would tell him just to stare at his opponent the whole time until it was time for the match. I pretty much did that Saturday, and it actually worked, and I'm gonna continue to do that. Just watch them until I'm back on the field, stay locked in until the clock hits 0 and we win the game.
You guys did a solid job against Montana State. There was no other run. You said you watched UTEP this weekend. What do you think of their run game?
They pretty much do a lot of the same similar stuff as Montana State, so we have a good idea of what we might see and what they could give us. So pretty much it's just us cleaning up the things that we messed up on and getting better at those little things.
Roger, in terms of the run game, what have you seen from 19, if you've been able to kind of see that, the running back for UTEP that had 140 yards that game?
He's a big, solid, physical back, and he's downhill. He's not making too many moves. He's trying to get north and south right now. But with our running backs, it's pretty much the same thing. They're trying to get downhill. They don't make a lot of moves. So I feel the preparation we have leading up into the game will be pretty good for us, and we'll be ready for them come Saturday.
It's just from your perspective, when did you kind of feel the defense kind of, I guess, not necessarily felt comfortable, but kind of felt in a groove? Because I know you guys started off with three and outs. I guess, when did you kind of feel like you guys were kind of mentally ready and just kind of could kind of play, so to speak?
We had 5, by the way, in a row. That's all good. But honestly, I'm not sure what it was. I just feel like everybody had a common goal, and we weren't going to stop until we accomplished that goal.
Roderick, you seemed personally very excited about the opportunity to get a safety down when I think the punt rolled down to the 1. How much does that, because I know y'all practice that in scrimmages and stuff, how much does that kind of drive you?
It kind of makes me upset to know I was that close and didn't get it done. So this upcoming week, I'll be really working on finishing, really, and just getting to the quarterback.
At what point for you in that first game day were you like, okay, yeah, like game day's back, like you kind of got the chills a little bit? Is there a game day tradition where you hear it or you see it and you're like, oh yeah, we're back?
Honestly, the newest thing that we do now that I think made me really know it was game day is when we first pull in, we go straight to the stadium, put our stuff down, and then we all take a walk around the field. And coming down the tunnel, that's when I was like, okay, it's game day. And I was locked in from then.
to get a night game at the Jones early on in the season too?
Oh yeah, I can't wait because I know the fans will be out there going crazy. The atmosphere will be great, and then really it's nothing like playing in the Jones at night. So can't wait for it.
Broderick, is it kind of hard to dissect like where you guys need to improve on when you have such a dominant performance defensively, only allowed 10 points, and so dominant on third down as well?
I wouldn't say it's hard because our coaches, they grade every little thing, and pretty much once we got our grades back and got feedback from our coaches, it was only little things that we really messed up on. It wasn't anything that was too big or too critical, but it's just the small little details. Like, for instance, with me, my footwork was bad. It might have looked like I had a good game or whatever, but the way our coaches grade things, they grade really hard, and knowing that I've been working on my footwork and knowing that it's not perfect just drives me to go harder in practice this week and really focus on that.
Do you think this defensive line group is the best that you've had here at Texas Tech?
It's kind of hard to compare just because the way the two different schemes that we had. In this new scheme, we're allowed to be more aggressive and really get after offensive linemen. And that just makes things really different. So it's hard to say.
Broderick, how much hotter was it on the turf on Saturday than it is on has been on the practice field the last month? And how well do you feel like y'all handled the heat?
It's really been hot all fall camp, so I mean it was just like practice. Honestly, it didn't feel any different. It was hot either way, but really that's the weather, just a mental thing, and we didn't think about it, so it didn't bother us.
And also, the other day I forgot to ask Coach Wills, but after the game on Saturday, he mentioned something in passing about how he appreciated you guys' buy-in because things had changed so much for y'all. And he said he mentioned that y'all do something different preparation-wise on Fridays. Do you know what he's referring to there? Just what y'all's Friday schedule is, maybe compared to what y'all did under Cliff.
Okay, so on Fridays, we normally, with Cliff, we would go to the country club, go to a movie, and then we would go to the hotel and we would have multiple meetings and stuff like that. But now it's just we come in, walkthroughs, go eat at the country club, go to the hotel, and we just got downtime really, and we just with each other bonding and having family time basically.
I don't know how much you watched the defensive unit as a whole when you watched the tape, but was there anyone else when you were watching it that stood out for you?
You want me to name them all? You want me to go through it?
Just pick out one or two of them maybe.
Jalen Hutchinson, really the whole defense, honestly, if we've been honest, because everybody was flying around, and you could see like the techniques that Coach Patterson wants us to do, like closing space before tackling. Like you would see guys just jumping out the screen, making tackles, flying around everywhere.
Y'all talked about on the defense, a lot of people have, about going up against the pace of the offense in practice. At some point, were you wondering, like, okay, Montana State, when are you going to pick it up? Like, because you're so used to it at this point.
No, I pretty much enjoyed the little rest, really, because our offense goes 100 miles per hour, and it's so fast in practice. The defense often gets upset with how fast they go in practice, but at the same time, it's really going to have us prepared for when we get in the conference and we're going against teams that use the tempo more often in non-conference.
Broderick, you mentioned getting to be more aggressive on defense and going against opposing offensive lines. You mentioned that you were excited about getting that opportunity back in Big 12 Media Day. Did that play out on Saturday the way you foresaw it? And can you kind of give us an idea, at least a general idea of what that means?
Yeah, I saw it a lot on Saturday, and really it's just I'm not sure how much you played football growing up, but like being in a staggered stance, you can generate a lot more force and power than you can like in a frog stance, basically. And it just allows you to, as a defensive lineman, to use all your power in your legs and just be able to attack offensive linemen faster than what it was in the past.
Offensive line did a great job blocking, which made it so much easier than it really needed to be. They did great for me, so it made it easy.
How easy is it for you to buy into being part of this group of running backs when now you have tape in a game to say, hey, look, you all got double-digit touches. You are all going to get touches going forward as long as you put the work in practice during the week?
It's a nice feeling knowing that we all have the ability to get touches in the game. It definitely gives us confidence more during the week to know that we're working and we're working to play and get touches.
Does it take extra? I don't know. Is it kind of hard to really pinpoint like points of improvement when you beat a team by such a high margin?
No, it's not really hard to find where you need to improve this. Just watch the film. It's easy to really find where we can definitely get better. So.
Where are y'all like looking to improve on going into next week?
Just picking up the tempo because we can definitely go faster than that. So that's one thing, at least.
And I guess finally, for me, how does like a fast-paced offense like this kind of complement your game, your running style?
It just slows down the defense, so it makes it run through tackles way easier when they're tired. So.
Hey, Armand, can you take us through that 69-yard touchdown run and what was going through your mind?
I would say the inside zone run. So I was reading made my read, went through the A gap, and then I was running through the open field. I made the safety. I didn't really make the safety miss. I just kind of outran him a little bit, and then at that point, I was just running straight. And then as I was running, I'm like, I'm running for a minute, so something finna happen soon. I don't know whether I'm finna get caught or I'm finna score a touchdown. And I knew I wasn't gonna go no faster at the moment. I could go faster, but I knew at the time I wasn't gonna go no faster. So I was like, either something gonna happen, and it so happens I crossed the line before you touched me. So.
Coach Wells just said he was glad that you didn't get caught. Anybody else, give you any trouble or talking smack about that?
Yeah, I'm sure they thought I was gonna get caught, but I wasn't gonna get caught. I wasn't.
Take us into the running backs room. How much are you bouncing ideas off with Siraj takes on, and how much do you learn from their game? What do you like about their game?
I watched that game a lot because I practice with him. So I like the way Siraj can make people miss an open field. That's great. I like the way Tate run hard, even though he's shorter, smaller, but he run like he big. So I think I just kind of see what they do and try to implement it, what I can do as well, so then I can make myself better too.
Coach Wells talked about how much they want the running game to be more of a part of the team this year than it was last year. Have you felt that with your own personal role, and has it grown throughout fall camp, just how much of the offense you're going to be carrying?
I say as the running back room as a whole, yes. I think we're more starting to realize that we're going to actually run it because I'm not sure how many carries they got last year. I know that stuff, but I'm sure they weren't not expecting how much we're going to get at the end of the day. So, yeah.
What was the first game day like for you at the Jones? Was there any tradition or anything that the fans did that threw you off a little bit? Like, oh, this is really different than what I saw at Utah.
Well, I heard there was tortillas. I don't know nothing about that. But I have never ran through smoke before. So, like, when we were running through the smoke, I couldn't see anything. And it made me really, really uncomfortable. I didn't like it at all. I don't like it. But, I mean, I'm going to do what I got to do so I can just get on the field at least. So, yeah. Nah, it wouldn't.
So, Armand, in terms of the rotation, since you and Tejon and Sir Roderick all played quite a bit, how far in advance do you know when you're going in? In other words, is it you're in next series or?
Yeah, Coach kind of just be like, he's like, okay, so you're going to start this series, and then for this series, you're going to back him up. It's just like that. So we sit there on the sideline, we ask him, or he tell us, and then we be like, all right.